Well, welcome back after a long layoff to the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast. I'm Mike Waters of syracuse.com, and I'm joined by my colleague, Donna Ditota. How you doing, Donna? It's good to see you.
Thank you, Mike. It's good to be seen.
Yeah. We're coming back to everybody here with the podcast. It's a little different these days. We're going to change it up as we get ready to start a new season. Most of the podcasts are just going to be Donna and myself, just kind of doing our own analysis and talking about the Syracuse basketball team and other issues related to the ACC and college basketball. Basically, our bosses said, just talk about whatever you talk about when you're on those long road trips during the course of the season.
Did they really say that? Because I don't think they really want us to do that.
Maybe not everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of those trips are about, what random movie you saw and random movie line that you're trying to stump me and Dennis or Scott or whomever's in the car with us. So, yeah.
But we can incorporate some sports trivia and stuff like that and, pull back the curtain a little bit for folks. But, we do on our road trips, and rental cars and airplanes and airports, we talk basketball a lot.
We do.
So we'll be having that sort of conversation, and everybody who's listening to podcasts can listen in along with us. But with all that as a very long preamble, Donna, let's get going here. Syracuse had their first exhibition game of the season last Saturday night in Buffalo. They beat the Buffalo Bulls 76-66. It was an interesting night. And we got to see the Orange go up and down the floor for the first time against an opponent. What were the one or two things that really stood out to you as you were watching the Orange?
Well, I mean, I get that it's a preseason game and it's an exhibition game and it's a chance to experiment with a whole bunch of lineups and everything. But Buffalo was picked, I think, 329 in Ken Pom in the preseason, which also folds in some of the stuff from last year because they were not very good last year. So, to be down up 4 with a minute 24 to go or something is not ideal. I think there were some interesting things that happened, some interesting things that didn't happen. And, it's hard to judge anything really on these exhibition games because there's so many different lineup combinations. Like there are some lineups out there that you're like, you will never see this in a million years. But
that's true.
But we did get to see some stuff, and there was some stuff that I liked and some stuff that I didn't like. How about you?
Similar to you, I thought it was really interesting. In the first half, you mentioned all the lineup combinations. I kept track. And in the first half alone, Adrian Autry used 13 different lineup combinations.
I mean, this is the time to do it.
It's the time to do it. That's a lot, though. I mean, a half is only 20 minutes. So 13 lineup combinations. So on average, they're getting less than 2 minutes together on the court. And I think that's, you're looking at combos. He wants to see, what might work. At the same time, you're probably doing it at a cost of cohesion and maybe some chemistry and guys being able to, stay on the court and kind of get used to each other. That'll come. I think maybe that was part of the reason why they lost that 18-point lead they had early in the second half. They lost it in part because, he didn't stick with his top 5 or 6 guys. There were other guys out there.
Right. But I will say they were playing the 329th ranked team in Ken Pom, and your second string guys should be better than their first string guys.
They should.
Like I don't want to belabor the Buffalo game. I mean, because Coach Autry said afterward that this is the first time playing against a different team, but it was Buffalo's first time playing against a different team too. Like everybody's sort of in the same boat right now.
Yeah.
And no, it's one game, and like I said, I liked some stuff, didn't like some stuff, and they should have. When they had an 18-point lead, you put your foot on the pedal, and you make it a 30-point lead. That's how I look at it.
We've written a lot about this game, but one guy I didn't write a lot about was Nathan George. And he didn't, it's not like he jumped off the page, but when I went back and I looked at his stats, 9.7 rebounds and 6 assists is contributing in a lot of ways. And the other thing that stood out, I had to go through my play-by-play. Syracuse, when it had its lulls offensively, almost every single time it was when Nathan George was on the bench.
Yeah.
I think this kid is going to be so important to this team working well on offense.
that's one of the things I wrote about in my little quick hits thing after the game is he's going to be on the floor. He's going to play a lot. They just need his presence. I mean, he turned it over too much, and I think he can be a better scorer even than he showed. But he knows how to play point guard, and you need an experienced guy at that position, and I think he's going to play. I think of all the guys on the team, he's going to play the most minutes.
Yeah, I didn't love the turnovers either. He had 4 of them, and that's more than you want to see. At the same time, he had that one transition lob to Donnie Freeman. That was a play we didn't see at all last season. Right. We didn't see anybody throw a lob. We didn't see too many people capable of going and getting one. And the crowd reacted. The crowd at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo was like, yeah, that was a heck of a play. And I'm like, they do that a few times at the JMA Dome this year, and the crowd might get back into some of these games. It was a really exciting transition play.
Yeah, one of the things I like about Nate George is he gets the ball and he goes. Like at Georgia Tech, he wasn't that guy really. That's not how they played. But I think at Syracuse, that's how he's going to play. And I think he had 7 rebounds in that game. He gets the ball off the defensive glass and he pushes. One of the things that they did pretty well that I really appreciated was when they got a defensive rebound, they pushed the ball, and they didn't do that enough last year. And I guess that could lend itself to some more turnovers. But I like the idea that they're trying to play at a different pace. They have more athletes. They have more guys who can finish at the rim. So I liked that part of what they did against Buffalo.
They did. They wanted to play at pace. Adrian Autry talked about it after the game. They want to play up tempo. As a team, though, 17 turnovers were really bad. Adrian acknowledged it after the game. He said, without the turnovers and a couple of missed layups, he was hoping they would have scored in the 80s. And they might have. 17 turnovers is a ton. For perspective, they had more turnovers than that last season, only 4 times.
Yeah.
So, to get 17 turnovers is way, way, way too many.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think they could shoot more threes. And I think they should shoot more threes this year. I think they have more shooters, better shooters. And I was a little disappointed that Nate Kings didn't get the ball. You got a guy who shot 45% from the 3-point line last year. He took 1 3 in the game.
And made it. It looked good.
And made it, and it was off the dribble. Right.
Yeah.
So he didn't get, and I think they tried to set him up one time in the corner. I'm not sure what happened. I think there was either a foul or something happened, but he didn't get the ball at that point. Yeah. That's the guy who needs to get more shots. I mean, you brought this guy here to shoot the ball, right? And I think he needs to take more than 1 3 in a game. I think Tyler
Bethune, 9. They only took 22. You're right. That's really not that many threes.
Not that many.
Attempts.
No.
To make 9. They shot 41% from 3-point range. I mean, last year, that was unheard of. Last year's team was not a good 3-point shooting team. So, again, to make 9 threes is really good.
Yeah, I think so, too. And I think I said and the way the game is played these days, getting more threes. And if they're going to push in transition, you're going to get some transition chances from the corners there. And so it'll be interesting to see if they take more and, if Nick Kings gets more and all of that.
Absolutely. It's the other thing that stood out in that game was, they won this game. They were up 18 at one point. They still won. And J.J. Starling and Donnie Freeman, the 2 returning guys from last year, the only 2 returning players. J.J. was your leading scorer a year ago. Donnie Freeman, we have high expectations of Donnie, even coming off the injury. Neither one of those guys did really well offensively. They didn't light it up.
Yeah, Yeah, the thing about Donnie, which I hope happens going forward, I think they need to get him involved a lot earlier in the game. The first couple of shots he took, I think, were from 3-point shots, and they weren't off a lot of movement. He kind of just stood there and took a 3. And I think one of them was contested. They need to get, like, at the end of the game, they used him, I think, the right way. He was in the pick and roll a little bit. He got to the basket.
Got fouled.
He's an excellent free throw shooter.
Yep.
And went to the line. And I think, maybe starting him around the basket a little bit more and getting him more involved earlier in the game is going to help him. I mean, what my opinion is about Donnie Freeman. I think he's a pro. I think he's really good. I think he is just physically very gifted. And I think they need to get him involved a little bit earlier in the game.
Yeah. I mean, for Donnie Freeman to go 3 of 9 from the field and not make a 3, and J.J. Starling to go 3 of 10 from the field and went 1 for 5 from 3-point range, and basically with 16 minutes to go, they had the game in hand, and they still won by 10 in a game when really neither of those guys had a great offensive game. I think that's a good sign because I'm not worried about J.J. Starling or Donnie Freeman. They'll be fine, you would hope. But the fact that other guys were able to step up and contribute to the scoring column, like Tyler Betsy, coming off the bench, that was good. But, it'll still be nice to see Donnie and JJ play well soon, whether it's in the next exhibition or in these, first couple of games when the season gets rolling, the opener against Binghamton coming up next Monday. But I think, Donnie's going to be fine. JJ's going to be fine. It's good to see guys like Nate George, Tyler Betsy, even Cayenne Anthony being active in there.
I was surprised when I looked at the box score and that Cayenne had 10 points. He made 2 threes in the game. I remember 1 3. I didn't remember the other 3. But he's an aggressive scorer, and you always like to have scorers on your team. And he wasn't terrible on defense, which I say that not to be critical or cruel, but I mean freshmen often are terrible on defense. They're just bad at it.
They can be.
Yeah, and so he was pretty decent at it. He had one situation where he and Akir Soare kind of locked up a guy inside. I think he stole the ball at that point. It was down on the low block, and he helped on that spot. And I thought he was pretty good. That was a nice little first glimpse of Cayenne Anthony.
Yeah, Tyler Betsy, 2 years ago when he was coming out of high school, St. Thomas More Prep out of Connecticut, he was thought of as this is a forward, a 6'8" guy who can shoot threes. Then as a freshman at Cincinnati, he sort of had like a freshman year that's very common for a lot of players. He made about 32% of his threes. He had his minutes were limited, blah, blah, blah. He transfers to Syracuse. To see him come off the bench the other night and go a perfect 3 for 3 from 3-point range, I was like, that's the kid that was ranked really high coming out of high school. That's also the kid that I think Adrian Autry and the rest of his staff were hoping that they found in getting him from Cincinnati.
Yeah, they really wanted him out of high school. And it was interesting. I was talking to him at Media Day just after everybody had, we were kind of milling around afterward. I was done doing all my interviews for stories I was working on. I was like, hey, so tell me a little about your game. And he's like, I'm a shooter. Yeah. I was like, okay, and we talked a little bit after that. But I mean, that was the first thing he said. And he clearly is. Yeah.
Yeah. And 6'8".
Yeah, he's got good size. And
he guarded both the 4 and the 3 at different times in the game, so he gives him a little versatility out there, which is great.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned that I thought he looked like James Sutherland. To me, he's much bigger than Chris Sutherland, much bigger than Chris Bell. He's a sizable kid, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's much thicker than James or any of those guys. Yeah,
or even Chris.
Whoever said that needs to see him up close.
He's a big kid, So I think, with his size and if the way he can shoot the ball, that's obviously a plus. Again, take more threes. I think they should take more threes.
Nate Kings and Tyler Betsy at the top of that list of if they get the ball, they have green light.
And Cayenne made a couple threes too. And I think Donnie's a good shooter. We don't have to give
Cayenne the green light. Cayenne knows.
That's true.
Cayenne is not shy. He's a scorer.
He is.
I don't know if he's maybe not as good a 3-point shooter as Nate Kings, Tyler Betsy, but he's got that scorer's mentality. He's going to look for his offense. And again, like you said, his defense wasn't terrible the other night. He was pretty good.
It wasn't. There's going to be a couple of interesting things. I think that they were not great on defense. There were moments when they were pretty good, and they hustled and they helped, but there were moments when they didn't. And, that was a problem with them last year, especially in the second half. They just let down in the second half of almost every game last year. Even if they had a good defensive half in the first half, they were awful in the second half. And I think that is something that really needs to be underlined for this team. You have to play defense the entire time you're out there. And I know it's a thing that nobody wants to do, right? Nobody wants to guard anybody. It's much more fun to score than it is to stop somebody from scoring. But I think everybody has to understand that that to get from being a middling, okay, pretty good team to being a great team, that is the common denominator. All the great teams in college basketball are good defensive teams. And that is something I think that I know that they've worked on it a lot, but they really need to get that down. They need to be better. They need to defend better in the post. They need to defend better at the point of contact. They need to guard better.
Yeah. Being there at the arena the other night and courtside, the kind of setup that we dream of, so we can hear what's going on.
Right.
Right out of the gate, they were aggressive on defense. They were denying balls to the wing. They were hedging really well on screens and forcing guys out. And the bench was clapping and yelling. They were yelling encouragement every time somebody made just even a small, good defensive move, a stop, or did whatever they were supposed to do. The bench was active, and the players on the court were talking. They were really talking. And then over the course of the game, that sort of faded away a little bit. They have to maintain that intensity that I saw in the first 4 to 8 minutes of the game. They have to carry that all the way through.
I mean, you get a big lead, you get a little cocky, you get a little bit like, oh, where can I rest? I'm going to rest on defense. We're up by 18, and then
it's Buffalo,
and then the other team starts scoring, and then you have to sort of re-energize yourself on the defensive end.
It's hard to ramp it up again.
It's hard to ramp it up, and it's also hard to ramp it up when the other team suddenly has the momentum,
Sure.
So I just think that defensive intensity has to be better. And I am, I was tough on Syracuse's team last year because they couldn't guard anybody. And because like I said, I think that is the differentiator. You're a good team. If you're a good offensive team, you're a great team. If you're a good defensive team. So I think they have to improve in that area.
Yep. Buffalo through the first 35 minutes of that game is shooting 4 of 21 or something like that from 3-point range. Yeah. And as soon as you lose concentration and you let big 6'10" Ezra Mckenna pop open again, on the 3-point line, and he makes one and he makes another, and then a teammate, and suddenly this team that wasn't able to shoot well from 3-point range for 35 minutes makes 5 in a row. They made 5 threes in a row. That's how you let up a lead real quick, and you can't do that. You can't lose that concentration.
Ezra McKenna looked like an All-ACC center against Syracuse. He was phenomenal. He played great, right?
Sure.
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah,
again,
they were turning him into PJ Hall.
Yeah,
PJ Hall with the pick and pop from the top of the key. I mean,
and he was good. I mean, he looked great. I don't know how they're sometimes they front it, sometimes with William Kyle fronted in there, only once or twice he fronted in there, but then they didn't get any weak side help. I mean, so I don't know how they're going to guard in the post, because William Kyle, I think, is a good shot blocker, but if you don't block the shot, you're in huge trouble, because
now you're way out of position.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to get an offensive rebound. So, I think it's more positional. I think he needs to maybe move guys out a little bit farther than he moved guys out the other day. But the thing I loved about William Kyle, and I mean loved about him, is he played hard the whole game. That kid hustled the entire game. And that's something.
Yeah. Usually you think about the guys that set the tone on defense, and usually you look at a point guard because they're the ones that pick the ball up as it's coming across midcourt. So they're right out there out front. I thought William Kyle did as much to set the tone on defense, especially early in the game, when I said when they were really getting after it. His activity was great to watch.
Yeah, I think
really fun.
I talked to him media day too, and he said that's his thing. When he was at South Dakota State, that's his thing. That's what he banked his reputation on, that he was a really good defender. He liked to block shots. He said he has an innate skill for blocking shots. He's not super tall, and I think you and I would both agree. I don't know if he's 6'9". I don't think he's that tall.
That's what they list him at.
I don't think he's that tall, but
I'll tell you this much: they list Donnie Freeman and William Kyle at 6'9", both.
Right.
They're not the same height.
They're not the same height.
Now, I don't know if Donnie's 6'11" or if Will Kyle's 6'8" or whatever, but 6'10", 6'9", I don't know, but I like not both 6'9".
I like to judge. I'm 6'1", so I like to judge these things by how much taller these guys look than me. I don't think he's 7 inches taller than me, he's definitely not 8 inches taller than me.
Yes.
So and I'm not somebody who wears heels. So
you know how tall you are.
I know, and so I don't think he's 6'9". But he's a really good athlete, and I think he works really hard. But they're gonna need to figure out if they've got low post scorers, how they're gonna guard in there.
Yep. All right, so let's put the Saturday's exhibition game behind us now. We'll look at ahead. Obviously, Pace, another exhibition game, and then on Monday, November 3rd, regular season opener against Binghamton, JMA Dome. That'll be fun. Let's take a brief thing. You have had a newsletter now for full year.
Yeah, I haven't done my first one yet this year, though.
I just filed my first one earlier on the day here that we're recording, and one of my features is I'm going to run a trivia question. So each week the trivia question comes out, and then the week later that you'll get the answer from the previous week and stuff like that. I want to see how you do, Donna. This is my trivia. Yeah, okay. I know you hated this. You're going to hate this. Syracuse's opener is against Binghamton on Monday the 3rd. When was the last time Syracuse lost its regular season opener? You might get this.
Give me a hint. Was it recently?
Not too far ago. Yeah, not too long ago. I mean, for me anyway.
I don't know. I'm terrible. Like I used to say this all the time.
Do you remember the year the ACC actually decided to have a conference game?
Yes, I do remember that.
And Virginia came up to the Dome.
Okay.
It was awful. I think it was like 48-34. It was.
See, this is why I don't remember, because it was like one of the more brutal games I've probably watched.
Yes, that's when you need the Men in Black neuralizers to like wipe something completely from your memory, because it was that bad of a night.
Yeah.
That's the last time Syracuse lost a regular season opener. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, so here's my deal with the trivia questions. They make these media guides for a reason, so that I can go and look stuff up. That's what I do. I look stuff up.
I tell that
like I can only store so much in there, and then you look stuff up.
It's what I tell people all the time about any sports writers or any reporters. Our job isn't to know everything, but we know where to find it. We know where to look it up, and we will take the time to go look it up. That's what we do. We go and we look it up. Before we get out of here, I wanted to take your pulse on some of the ACC. Obviously the ACC's media ballots were released a week ago.
Yeah.
You went to media day. I know you've probably you've done your preseason AP poll, which probably gets you up to speed a little bit. Who are you looking at in the ACC, both in terms of top teams and top players? Well,
I mean, I think everybody thinks Duke is going to be the best team in the league. I think they by far that they were voted much higher than Louisville, who everybody thinks is the second best team in the league. I'm pretty sure on my AP ballot I picked Louisville to finish ahead of Duke. I'm not positive, just because I think Louisville has a lot of older veteran guys. They have a good backcourt, guys who can shoot, guys who play the way Pat Kelsey likes, and John Shire has a lot of really good players, but most of them are really young guys. Now, obviously, they have a great player.
Cam Boozer's pretty good for a freshman.
Great.
Yeah.
And they had a great player last year, and they didn't seem to have any problem with their use at all. But I don't know. I think those are going to be the two best teams, right?
Yeah, I do too. Far and away, both of them.
Yeah, far and away.
Yeah.
And I am going to be curious what happens at NC State. They have a really good player they got in the transfer portal, and Quadir Copeland started for them in their exhibition game against South Carolina and played well. So I'm curious about how they're going to be. I don't know what UNC is going to be. I think those are probably the top four. You would know more about UNC. Like, what are your thoughts about the Tar Heels?
I was really unsure about the Tar Heels. A lot of new parts. Seth Trimble's really the only guy remaining from a year ago. They're relying on the big kid, the transfer from Arizona, Henry Vasir, I think his name is. Caleb Wilson, their freshman, probably power forward for them. Again, we talk about freshmen. I think he's really a good player, but will he be consistent? And then they went out to Brigham Young on Friday night. Right. And took Brigham Young, which is going to be a really good team with one of the top freshmen in the country.
Yeah, that's a top 10
and took
team.
them right down to the wire. I think they had the ball with a chance to tie at the very end, and they didn't make it, so BYU won. But to go all the way out to Utah and play Brigham Young that tough, I thought was a good sign for the Tar Heels. I was like you. I picked Louisville to finish ahead of Duke in my preseason poll. Again, because I like having a few older guys out there.
Older guards.
But then Duke goes to Knoxville and beats Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Tennessee's pretty. I know it's just an exhibition game, but I saw some of the videos from that game. Those two teams didn't play that much like an exhibition game. Holy cow. The atmosphere was amazing, and Duke won in Knoxville.
Yeah, I thought I was going to watch some preseason games this weekend. I was all prepared for it, and then it kind of slipped my mind. I mean, I'm still watching baseball playoffs, even though my team has been eliminated. But I love the baseball play. I love the World Series, and so I haven't watched really hardly any. I didn't watch any college basketball. I saw some clips here and there, but I didn't watch any college basketball over the weekend, and I thought I would.
I haven't watched as much as I thought I would. I've been watching a lot of highlights. I've been checking out box scores. I was able to watch a little bit of action last Friday night. And that's the night that North Carolina went out to BYU, and
Yeah.
Louisville played Kansas.
Right.
And I know Louisville lost that game, but man, that time I still thought Louisville looked good at times in that game, really good. And Kansas was impressive. And Syracuse gets to play Kansas in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Get to see all these games recently. Duke, Tennessee. You had the freshman Nate Ament and Duke's freshman Cam Boozer. Kansas against Louisville was Darren Peterson, Kansas's freshman, against Louisville's freshman point guard Michael Brown. And Syracuse gets to play all these people.
Right, right.
We're going to have the best insight as to the best freshmen in the country between you and me, because we're going to get to see all these amazing freshmen.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, all right. So ACC preseason player of the year, which way did you go?
I don't think I didn't vote, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Because the AP poll didn't ask you to do that. All right. Well, I did the ACC media ballot that I had to do was I went with Darian Williams of NC State, the transfer from Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's
good.
I think he's really good, and I think he's a difference maker on that team too. That's why I think they're going to be pretty good. He's really good. He's
after this past weekend, though, I'm thinking, oh God, everybody who picked Cam Boozer is going to be right, And I didn't want to go with the freshman when there was a guy like Darian Williams sitting there, but. I had Michael Brown and Cam Boozer right after Darian Williams.
Right.
But yeah, Cam Boozer put up amazing numbers in that Tennessee exhibition game.
He did.
Yeah. So let me see. Where are we on the clock? We're doing pretty well, Donna, but I think we're about ready to cut out of here. Right. We could talk all day.
We could.
Lord knows. But then we're going to get into a lot more movie references and some, other bizarre stuff. So we'll save those for another time.
All right, so I am so I have a foot injury, so I'm still
lower body.
I've got a lower body injury.
You have a lower body injury,
and which required a surgery. So I'm gonna hobble up to the Dome for the opener, but not for the exhibition game. So I will see you there, and in the meantime, I will be like everybody else watching on not everybody else, but a lot of other people watching on my TV.
For those of you who found us again after our long hiatus, welcome back. We're glad to see you again. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast. For Donna Ditota, I'm Mike Waters. Talk to you again soon.